Today's Gospel, Matthew 9 verses 18 to 26, is a deeply moving passage that weaves together two stories, two cries for help, two desperate situations, and one unshakable truth. Faith in Jesus brings healing and restoration. The scene begins with urgency. A synagogue leader, a respected religious figure, comes to Jesus, kneels before him, and says, "My daughter has just died. But come and put your hand on her, and she will live." Imagine the depth of that faith. This man isn't just asking Jesus to pray or console. He is believing for the impossible, that life can return from death. In the middle of this journey, another story unfolds. A woman, suffering from constant bleeding for 12 years, reaches out in faith. Her condition made her an outcast, considered unclean, likely ignored or shunned. She didn't have the status of the synagogue leader. She didn't even feel worthy to speak directly to Jesus. Yet she says to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed." And that's exactly what she does. This moment is powerful, not because of her words, but because of her faith-driven action. She pushes through the crowd, reaches out, and touches the hem of Jesus' garment. Immediately, Jesus stops. He turns and sees her, really sees her. And he says, "Take heart, daughter. Your faith has healed you." Let's pause there. This woman didn't just receive physical healing. Jesus called her daughter, a word filled with love, identity, and belonging. It was likely the first time in years that she was addressed not by her condition, but by her value in God's eyes. Jesus doesn't just heal her body, he restores her dignity. And then the story shifts back to Jairus and his daughter. When Jesus arrives at the house, the crowd is already mourning. They laugh when Jesus says the girl is just sleeping. But he enters the room, takes her by the hand, and she rises. Death has no power in the presence of the one who is life itself. Now let's reflect. What can we take away from this? First, these stories teach us that faith requires action. Jairus could have stayed silent in his grief. The woman could have hidden in shame. But both took a step. They moved toward Jesus. Faith isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet stretch of the hand. Sometimes it's kneeling in surrender. But true faith always moves us closer to Christ. Second, we see that Jesus responds to personal faith. These miracles aren't performed to impress the crowd. Jesus doesn't heal because people deserve it. He responds to faith that believes even when it hurts. Whether it's the high-status synagogue leader or a nameless outcast woman, Jesus sees the heart. Third, these stories remind us that Jesus is never too busy for us. On his way to perform one miracle, he pauses for another. He doesn't rush past the woman in need, even though he's headed to a grieving father. That's who Jesus is. He meets us where we are. He's not just the God of big miracles. He's the God of moments, interruptions, and deeply personal encounters. So what does this mean for your daily life? Maybe you feel like that woman, overlooked, tired, dealing with something no one else fully understands. Or perhaps you're in Jairus' shoes, praying for a loved one, watching hope fade. This gospel reminds us that Jesus hears, sees, and responds to faith. Even if others laugh, even if your situation seems hopeless, Jesus is not finished with your story. The same Jesus who raised a dead girl and healed a bleeding woman still moves with compassion today. But he calls us to do something first, to reach out in faith. Ask yourself, what area of my life needs healing today? Have I allowed fear or shame to stop me from reaching out to Jesus? Am I willing to believe, like Jairus, even when others laugh or doubt? Let's pray today for bold, humble faith, the kind that kneels before Christ in the dark and stretches out a trembling hand in the crowd. Because when we do, Jesus turns, looks at us, and says, "Take heart. Your faith has made you well."